very large industry.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. Also, too, go to Las Vegas. That's the big one we usually tell people. Just go to Las Vegas and look around. Everything is there. So, whoops, got it. Sorry. So this is a $178 billion industry. Massive industry. It touches everything. So even if you're in another pathway, like we could tie this into ag, we could tie this into IT, we could tie this into pretty much anything out there. Another big area is theater. So that's, a lot of you may have theater programs. That's where, when we talk a little bit today, that's a good starting point, is because you probably have theater tech. And so a lot of the equipment's already there. You may have teachers that already have a background in it. So this is a massive industry. Like I said, the two shows that happen every year, they're big ones, usually about 80,000 people at them. And it is a very wide ranging. IT falls into this industry very heavily now. Almost everything we're doing in this program, we are talking IT. You need to know how to run cables. You need to know how to terminate stuff. You need to know switches, servers. We're pushing data so the experience happens. So let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Carmen. So one of the things that comes up, and this is where even locally we've run into this. On a national level, we run into this. And so when we started the program at Downey, we needed to really define the difference between audio video, AV, and audio visual, AV. There's a lot of confusion here. And so the easiest way for me to explain this is we deliver content in the audio visual side. Audio video creates content. And so that's where we diverge. Now, mind you, the two cross over a lot. And even the program we're doing right now, there's video cameras, there's switchers, there's content being created by those same students. But this is the major difference between the two, because in a lot of cases, a lot of our partners that we work with are installers. They're going out into a high rise and installing all the AV equipment, all the screens, all those things. They never touch what gets sent to those, but they have to work with those people. There's standards that have to happen. So that's the big thing. If you get asked the difference between the two, because I've gotten in drag out arguments with districts. They go, we already have a program. That's my audio video program and my film teacher teaches it. And I go, no, we're talking two very different things here. That's the NAB show in Las Vegas, the National Association of Broadcasters. It's a whole other world that we deal in. But once again, they cross over. One thing that I didn't put up here that I'm going to throw out, how many of you know about the Otis report that comes out every year? Okay, so for all of you, go do a Google search, look up the Otis report for 2023. So the Otis Otis College of Art and Design in Los Angeles, along with the LA Times and a whole bunch of other industry partners, put out their jobs report every year. And it's great if you're writing grants, if you need data. This industry is a huge part of that report, as well as fashion and things that you may not even think about. It's all the entertainment industry in the Los Angeles area and California. So a better way to put it is the Southern California area, but they also cover all of Northern California now as well. So if you're looking for justification and saying, hey, we have jobs, these are the things, that is the report you want to use. But the AV side of it is huge because Hollywood, there's tons and tons of jobs in that. Lighting, like I tell her when I go, just go to a stadium. Walk in, like Vegas, or you go into where the Knights play, or you go down to Los Angeles to SoFi, or you're up here, the new one where the Kings play over here. This is that world. So let's jump to the next slide. Sorry if I'm moving a little quick. If you got questions too, yell at me. Uh-oh, Carmen.
We're going to play the video now.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. You had a question. Audio visual is what I'm talking about in here. So, but that was the difference here. Right. It will get confused very quickly when you're talking with administrators or even teachers. They're like, no, I do this. You do a little bit of it, but our focus is what I've just talked about, all that install and getting things we deliver versus we create versus the other that creates. So hopefully this works. This will give you a little bit of what is AV. So go ahead, Carmen.
What is AV?
Are you able to see my screen?
Nah, pause it. I'll pull it up over here. That didn't work the way we wanted to. Bad AV, right?
Let me see.
Enhances communication between people.
Sorry, let me throw it over on that screen.
AV enhances communication between people. It creates a common experience and understanding.
Sorry, there you go.
It may not be what you think it is, so let me show you. It's audio, sound systems, amplified voices, music, and other ambient sounds. It's visual. Its aesthetic can be seen on display screens with videos, lights, darkness, and other movements. It's an interactive experience. AV uses art and technology to communicate ideas, emotions, and information, to set a mood and to influence perception. AV uses technology to change how people experience the world. Explore AV careers.
So hopefully that gives you a little bit better idea than me just explaining it. Let me close this. There we go. We go back to the slides. Thank you. We go to the next slide. So that's a real quick overview. And that's just a slice of this industry as well. That's the fun stuff. Is probably the best way to put it. These are the things that we've all had experiences with, that we understand. There's everything that happens behind the scenes as well. And that's really what this is about, is getting our students ready to go into these jobs that don't need college degrees. And that's across the board. Everyone we've talked to in the industry, AVIXA, all the numbers, everything shows that they are desperate right now for people who have talent and the drive to go in this industry. And I always say, these are not jobs, these are lifelong careers. Everyone I've talked to in this industry that have lasted, they've been here 30, 40. There are people that have been 50, 60 years in this industry. They are in their 70s and 80s because we do not have enough people to fulfill these jobs. And they just keep working. And I see it in Vegas when we go to the show, all the behind scenes people, it's gray hair. I mean, you look around the room and it's like, how long you been doing this? Oh, 40 years. You know, and the other thing we hear a lot of too is like, oh, did you go to college? I go, yeah, I got a business degree, but then I started working for a company and this was my career. So the companies are looking for, I mean, I hate to say this, warm bodies that want to do this. And it's worse off than a lot of industries. I'm not going to go through all the data here, but AVIXA has been pulling data. They work with George Washington University because it's their #1 priority right now, is to diversify their workforce, because hate to say it's mostly white male. If you look around and all these things, it is what it is. The numbers show that. There's not a lot of females in the industry, so that's another thing that they're pushing for. And they know, based on their companies that they work with as the global leader for all this, that this is crisis mode at this point, is we've got to get more people in. So it's there. And everyone, I will say this, out of all the industries, and I've spent a lot of time in the entertainment industry, and me and Angela did stuff all over the state. The companies that we've been working with, they are just pushing. They need people now. So that's one of the reasons this all started. And so how did we get here? Back when Angela and I were at the state level at the chancellor's office, I was approached by a friend of mine in the industry who introduced me to Joseph, who still isn't here, but I'll buy a little bit more time for him. Okay, I did too. So, but anyway, and Joseph actually is the head of the foundation. So the nonprofit arm of AVIXA. They're the ones who do all the outreach. They work with the unions. IATSE, how many of you know IATSE? AVIXA is the provider for their curriculum in Los Angeles and all over the country. So that's all those jobs too use this training. They use AVIXA. They're the main person. But he works in the foundation, and we started this about 7 years ago in San Jose. Before COVID, they used to have about 10 or 15 shows a year worldwide. Now they're down to 1. So COVID really messed them up too. But they had shows all over the state, all over the country that were smaller regional shows. And we started working with them. They were committed to bringing this into the K-12s and community colleges across the nation, because once again, they knew their problem. They had to come up with a solution. And so working with Joseph and working with the team there, we took about 50 educators to Las Vegas to the show. And there's people nodding in here, June. You were there. So, and out of that 50, we had across the spectrum. K-12, community colleges, four-year schools. We had administrators, we had state people, and they were very gracious, and they paid for 5 days for all of us to be there. And Downey showed up as well. So Downey Unified, where John's from, we got a lot of people in here from there as well. They sent their team too. And as the conversations kept going over this 7-year period, so this was almost 7 years ago that we started this journey. It really narrowed down to Downey was the one that decided to step up. We had other districts, Huntington, Maryland, you're here, and everything, that signed on with AVIXA. But that's one of the things I want to talk about today is I don't want to call them the issues or they're hurdles that we have to look at before we jump into something like this. And it took a while for us to do that. But luckily Downey, John Harris and his team moved ahead and wrote to CTIG and K-12 Strong Workforce for this. So they decided we were going to do this. They wrote to the grants. That way we had the funding to start with. Because I hate to say this ain't cheap. You saw what was being done up there. To do this right, it's an investment. And the industry has been very helpful with that, but they're also very busy. And so, yeah, we have good backing, but it's not like some other industries like ag and stuff that I've worked in where we have very dedicated people within the industry that's been assigned to us to do things. So it kind of fell on our shoulders at the local level to make that happen along with AVIXA. And it's been working. We've gotten there, but that is one of the big things is making sure you have good partnerships in your local community, working with the convention center and the companies that do this and anything that is there. So that can be a hurdle for a lot of schools to get over, but it's one that is easily jumped over, but you do need to do the outreach on that. So we ended up starting to plan this out, and I can't remember, June, when did we write this one? Round four for CTIG, correct? Yeah. So round 4 CTIG. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. And so that's Kelly Cooper as well. I'm sorry, I didn't, but she works with us there too. And June Bea is right next to her. So we got a lot of people in the room that were instrumental in getting this written and getting it together and getting the money to do this. And AVIXA knew that as well. And that's been the issues that they've had on the East Coast with their K-12s, even at the university level. And so you got to be creative as well. So figuring out what you have on the campus is a big part of it. And we did that. We sat down and said, okay, what do we have? How can we make this happen? And we chose the school, that's Warren High School. And Downey has 3 high schools. We have Downey High, Warren High, as well as Columbus High School. And so Warren High was chosen. And the reason was we couldn't find a teacher. Like we just couldn't go off the street and hire someone from industry because I hate to say this, everyone I talk to, and we're still looking for another teacher, they don't want to leave their jobs in the industry. They get paid very well. And so comparatively to their teaching salary, it's a big commitment for them to step back. And so we had to look at who we had internally to work with. And so we actually have Robert Patterson. He's an awesome choir and music teacher that we had there, and he was willing to step up. That also meant we had to get him his CTE credential. And that's something you'll run into as well. Even if you bring someone in from the outside, I think everyone in here knows you got to get them their credential as well. Not hard, but it is something you have to support your teachers on and get them there. So we did that with Bob. He luckily, once again, we looked at our resources we had, and he had a very large choir room, music room. He had audio equipment. He has lights. He has speakers. So we were able to actually start with the equipment that he had, and we've been supplementing that now with the money from CTIG and buying new equipment and everything else over the last year. So those were the nuts and bolts part of this, where writing it was the easy part. We have the curriculum now, which I'll pull up here in a little while. That took a little bit of time to just align it with AVIXA, but that was the easier part of all this, was getting all that together. Even the industry side, getting them on board was probably the easier side too. It's finding that teacher, finding someone qualified to do it, and also probably most importantly, they want to do it as well. I mean, let's just be honest. You might have someone qualified, but if they're not going to put that, especially with a new program, they're not going to put their heart into it. It's going to be a tough road to get this up and going. So all that said, we had our funding, we had our person, we have a place, we have the school. Luckily, that school changed the way they do their block scheduling and also what they do with their incoming freshmen from middle school. So starting this past fall, pretty much every kid has to take a CTE pathway. So that helped with our enrollment right off the bat. We thought we were going to be in the 30-ish range, maybe 28, 25, maybe a little lower, but we were committed to it. We ended up with 68. We had open 2 sections of the essentials class, the very first one, which is a good thing, right? We always need enrollment. And as of right now, just to be transparent, we're at about 48 in the 2 classes, which is pretty good with our first year out. Hopefully this coming year, I was just at the school, we have a ton of incoming freshmen. I think we're gonna see some good numbers again with that. Hopefully 3 intros or 3 begin. And I'll back up on that, 3 concentrators, because it's a 2-course pathway. So 3 concentrators and 1 capstone, maybe 2 if we're lucky, but as long as we get the 1, so we get our completers as well. So I see a lot of nodding heads in here, but so that's how did we get here? It was a lot of back and forth. Now, is there gonna be that much for you? No, AVIXA is committed to this on a national level. They're rolling this out in other states. We were working with someone up in Minnesota, where it's cold right now. They're going the theater route. They have theater programs. We're gonna look at that and try to break off and do theater tech, but with an AV look at it. We have IT programs too that are looking, going, okay, our installers, how do we get them in a specialized field instead of just doing general installation for IT? How do we get them into this field? So being creative in terms of your resources. If you don't have the grant funding right now, you know, our next rounds are coming up later in the year. It's putting the plan together and getting it out there. Or if you've got someone you want to jump in, it's just looking at your resources that you have on the ground. Question?
What pathway does this connect with? It doesn't sound like, I mean, it's sort of AME.
It is. So we are in ICT because we went the installation route and that's how we wrote it, but it's also AME. It actually falls AME and at the state level, they see this as a big one. The new apprenticeship program that's coming, this falls into it. It's part of it. So, and that's actually Allison Frenzel. So if you don't know Allison, talk to her about it. I think she's presenting on it. Actually, Stephen, you were the first or second school in that program, right? So yeah, talk to him because he's kind of in the early, they're still in the early stages, but I've been talking with Allison on this because they have all of the AIG people down in LA at all the arenas. They're looking for internships, apprenticeships. We fit into that like right off the bat. So AME, ICT are the 2 that you're probably going to fall under. So probably project and production and managerial arts for right now, if we don't get more pathways going. But that, I won't go down that road. I'm sorry, question.
Since it does fall under AME, can the BAFA grant that just got put out from the state, can that be used for this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's, and yes. So pretty much anything out there, if it aligns with our CT, could be used for this. It's just deciding. I'm glad you brought that up. I think we do it a little bit later, but it is deciding where it's going to fall into what pathway. My suggestion is we did ICT because it's installation and went that route. Our teacher got his ICT the credential for it, but almost everyone else I've been talking to, especially on the theater side, it falls under AME and they're probably going to keep it in some of their theater as well. Sorry, Kelly. Yeah, that's one of the reasons we went after is looking for the money as well. Where can we align it?
What's ICT?
Yeah, someone just said it. It's the UN designation for like the computer, all the computer stuff. So yeah, information computer technology. So ICT. Sorry if I go off on these tangents, she'll correct me. I'm sorry. Question.
So I know you said theater under the arts.
So recording arts is what I would probably look at then.
That's where we're,
Yep.
we have like,
We do audio. So it could fall under that if that's where you fall into. So that's another one. That's under AME, but it would be the pathway. I can't remember the number. I should know these things. Yeah. But so yeah, that would be another one. I'll be honest, I'm not picky. I don't think anyone's picky about like it has to be in this group. It's once again assessing what you have on that campus, what pathways you already have. Is it going to replace a pathway? Or is it going to be a new pathway as a spin-off? You know, like say, oh, we're production managerial, but we're going to go into the theater. So we're going to have to create a theater because there is the pathway for that as well. Marilyn, go ahead.
A lot of times when writing programs like this, look at your
staff and see what CT credential they have. So if they have the ICT, then you have to go ICT. If you have AV, you have to route credit.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Going back to what I was saying, what you have on the campus, if you already have someone that's like you're saying digital music, music production, that's where I would probably stay in the AME, because you could do a different pathway in AME because you have your credential in it. So it's just figuring out that part of it. And once again, AVIXA doesn't care one bit. Industry doesn't care one bit. It's really figuring out where the money is, like Kelly said, writing to where the money is. In our case, ICT was where we knew we can go. And then figuring out if, like Marilyn said, what your teachers have, how they're using it. Sorry, question.
Does it have to be a separate pathway, or can it be written into pathways already?
You can write it into a pathway as well. So that was where I was going to get to. I'm glad you brought it up. So everything I'm talking about is new pathway or replacement of a pathway. If you already have, let's say, a theater program or a music program and you want to add this, then it's really up to you to decide how you're going to add it in. That's where the curriculum that I've got here, you can pick and choose. That's up to you how you want to change it. But you got to remember there's a process to go through on changing it as well. Sorry, Kelly. I see you in the back too. So.
Strong workforce award points for expanding a pathway, same as they do for a new pathway.
So.
Expanding, improving, and new.
Yep. So that's why we have them here to figure out like where we can go for the money. I'm sorry, in the back. I'm not avoiding it.
Multiple questions. Now, I was thinking of concepts. Does this go in A through G, would it be G, or can it be a lab site? Because there's kind of hands-on, a lot of lab work.
So we are G. So we are approved on both of these for G. So it's already gone through the system. So if you adopt what we did, you shouldn't have any issues. I'll be honest, I'm a little proud. We just, the G or A through G just opened. We got the new class, the capstone. It was 3 days from when we submitted it to approval with no changes. So we have it all in, and that was a big thing on the national level as well, because outside of California, the states that understand it, it makes it easier for them for approval as well. So that was our goal here from AVIXA and Downey, was when we were building this to make sure that it was plug and play as much as possible. If you get the curriculum, you go, I'm going to do this, it's all there, it's ready to go. Kelly.
You can't go beyond G as long as you go into the conceptual, the electronics, the electricity theory. You get denied outside of G if you leave it within the realm of hands-on.
Yeah. F is the only other one that I think I could have got this through F, no problem, like with a little bit of tweaking and stuff, especially if it fell under AME. So let's say we had done an AME pathway here, like yours is the music. Yes, we could get an F on this one, because I've gotten Fs on all my graphic design, all my video production. This falls under that grouping as well. But that's where we run into, remember I talked about earlier, AV versus AV. That's where the confusion really starts coming into play. At all levels, because they're like, wait a minute, this class already exists, and now it doesn't. So you can do F as well. The others, I'll be honest, I never even really thought about it. Those were the two that we really went after. Yeah, with the hands-on, the ICT. So, all right, so we've already kind of talked about why this is important. This is where I was going to have Joseph jump in and like give you all of the hard numbers and like really from an industry standpoint, but just I'm just have to say, believe us, there is a need. The jobs are out there. It is, like I said earlier, it is a career pathway where the college degree doesn't exist. So that's another thing about this is we only have a handful of schools that are aligned to us. We have 2 community colleges up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I worked on those projects. They actually have an AV pathway at Laney and Berkeley with something at San Francisco. It was all 3 of those schools. They do not exist anymore. During COVID, they were shut down. They were basically part-timers teaching them. It was just gone. And sadly, it was a joint effort where if you took one class at one school, you get your certificate. It was an AV certificate. The Ringling School down in Florida, which is an art school and design school, they have a full program. Berkeley School of Music has a program. There are some universities, most of them though, fall under fine arts. They're going to be performing arts. And so they're MFAs or BFAs and theater. That's where we're seeing them in the other areas. There is an entire other organization separate from AVIXA that does just theater stuff as well. So there's that kind of weird gray area between the industry on that. Question?
Have you seen any of
Live production is where we're seeing that. So, and actually studio production, but it's not the person, it's not the engineer, it's someone setting up everything in the room. So you might have the engineer, that's the SC program, they're doing the commercial music. It's whoever installed all that over at USC. Exactly, so you get it. So that's from that end of the world. So you see how things just, we're everywhere and we kind of get our tentacles. It's just like the IT department and we're just, there's so many different ways we can go with this. And that's where it's hard for me to tell you, oh, do this in your program, because you really got to do that assessment of what you have. Then that decision can be made afterwards and go, okay, we have a teacher, we have equipment, we have a commercial music program, we have a theater program. The other thing too is, and this is the funny thing is, when we were at these shows talking to all the veterans in the industry, almost every single one told us the same thing. I was in the AV program in my high school. I'm the one who put the 8mm film and loaded it, or did the slide projector. I'm the one that pushed the stuff around. I was in the auditorium running the stuff. Does that happen at any of your schools with students anymore? A handful. It used to be everyone would raise their hand 40 years ago. And that's what's happened, is those are the people that are still working in the industry, because that's where they got their experience and they just transitioned in from there. Or a lot of them stayed with the school districts. Now, I worked in IT at a school, so I can't bash those guys because I was one of them. All of that falls on our IT department, right? To come and install a projector or bring things or put up the new TVs and all that. They become the AV guys now too. They're not a separate group. They're also the guys running all your cable, doing your installs, fixing your equipment, barcoding the stuff, you know, like they do all of that. And your students probably are not involved. It's not like the way it used to be. And so we hear that at the convention, everyone's talking about the good old days. And I just go, well, I don't think we're going back to the good old days anytime soon. So if you do have an IT department that does your AV and you have a good relationship with them, that's a big part of getting the connection going. Warren has that. So Bob, who is our teacher, they do a weekly club, Cafe Déchet. And so the kids come, it is a full band, the whole 9 yards. The kids have to do the smoke machines. They have to put all the stuff in. They do all the events. Like they were doing a concert during the middle school. Next week when the adults come, the parents, they're doing a big one outside. They put on the talent show. They're the ones who put everything together. They run the boards. It's creating those experiences internally. So those kids are getting hands-on all the time. It's almost like they're the AV crew, you know, and I'll tell you, we spent a lot of time, and this kind of goes back to what we did. The first semester, which was last semester. So getting back to the timeline here, our very first semester was the fall of 22. It was a lot of watching videos and doing stuff in the classroom. And we used a software called Synod. They're an audio company, and I'll pull it up. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But we bought their certification program because that's what AVIXA told us the industry is using. We went with them, and they actually changed it and rewrote their stuff for high school for us. So they had never done high school. This is all industry level training. They rewrote it, and it's not cheap. It was about $4,000 for our license, but that was the core part of our first semester, because these kids need to learn a lot of different things. Like most of them go get the XLR cables. And yeah, exactly. Or even like, I need a USB-C cable. And they're like, what? And so just the basics, we did that way. And we were new. And not all, honestly, we were building the ship while I was still in dry dock while we were floating. So let me pull it up real quick. Sorry. Unless she's pulling it up, maybe she will. Carmen, can you pull that up for me? Sorry, I know she didn't hear me. So we'll get that for you, okay? But that was our first semester. We had about an 80% pass rate with their certification. So now they're certified at, we call the 050 level. And that was our first semester. Now they're starting to get into the hands-on this semester. So it was bumpy, but hey, it was our first time out. We had to keep these kids, so. Question? We're not, but you can. So the curriculum I'm pull up here, I'm not specific with anything in it for that reason. But if that's what you guys are using or that's what your industry people, then we go with it. So we are going with, what is the lighting company? This is where I need Bob and them here. It's not my world, but they're not Allen Heath. That's audio. I can't remember the name of them now. But it's the big lighting company, and it's for all the plotting and everything else. We're going to be doing lighting going into next year. And so whatever that industry standard was, we said, okay, that's what we need in Los Angeles. That's what our people here are telling us to do. That's the route we went. So our advisory boards are real important for all this as well. So, question?
So right now, what I do run is basically an auditorium, and I have an entertainment technology and my production class. That's what it's called. So this would fit really well into it. But my question is, because my advisory board is not going to have any people involved, does it matter that I have other lighting companies involved or other?
Get it, whoever your people are.
So
That's.
doesn't have to go with whatever company you're partnering with?
And that's the other thing too is I know Joseph's not here, so I'm gonna throw him under the bus. No. Yeah. Get a hold of us because we can. I don't know where you are in the state, but that's one thing that AVIXA is committed to, is making sure that you connect with your industry people because they are industry, and so they've been great for that. We ran just an AV advisory committee with all of our people from QSC, from I forgot, or a whole bunch of places. So, but you might have local people as well, installers, or they'll tell you what lighting you want to use, or what you have. That's a big part of it too, is the boards and everything else. So once again, it's not my specialty. I actually come from television and film, so there's a ton of crossover. But like for lights, I think Mole Richardson. So that's like my world. That's much different than everyone else. Same thing with audio boards, or Sony and things like that, where I know it's Allen and Heath on that end. So we already kind of went through the history there and how it was created. Let's pull up. So there's our QR code. I'll leave it up there. We will pull it back up at the very end. But if you could, let me pull this up. Hey, Carmen, is there any way you can pull up the curriculum for me? I don't have it on my, thank you. But we'll put that back up. So you can pull it up, take a look at it. There are 2 classes there. We have Audiovisual Essentials, which is our capstone class. It's not an intro. I'm not going to go through all that with the 3-course and 2-course pathway. But if you got questions, there's a lot of us in here that can answer those for you as well. But once again, this is a 2-course, 300-hour pathway. It fits into our system very nicely at Warren because we have what's called 2+2. A student will start with, let's say, the AV pathway, and then they'll continue on to our television film pathway. 4 years, 2+2. So that's the reason we did this. Plus, I know 3 years is very difficult. A lot of you are CPAs, so you might have 4 years. Then we can expand. You could do things with this. So this is just the foundation that we're looking at here. So anyway, were you able to pull that up, Carmen?
Yes, I got it. Let me.
Yes, everything's aligned to certs as well. We're going to talk about the certs from AVIXA as well as I'll get the Synod stuff up. We went with them for certification. So, yep. There we go. So if you can pull it up on your phone, but this is it here. It's in the standard format. If any of you are not using it, there is a system called SCOE, S-C-O-E, the Sacramento County Office of Education. They have an online builder for all of your course outlines. It's what me and Angela use. Downey, Huntington, everyone we work with, we put it in there and it spits it out. So this is our essentials course. It is a G. These are our little numbers, but it is our G here. If you can just scroll through right here, we have our ONET codes. So we've aligned all the ONET codes. These are the national or the federal codes for what this aligns to. And you can see all these jobs they need at least a high school or a community college degree. They do not need 4-year degrees. So we've already done all that research for you. We have G approval on all this, but our course descriptor, you'll notice we put AV in there, but it is an introductory overview of the science and technology for audiovisual. They explore microphones, cameras, displays, digital science, signals, networking, future AV trends, and related electronic equipment for online broadcasts, concerts, sports events, meetings, conventions, presentations, and more. I think I made this about as general as I possibly could to cover as much stuff as I could. But that's why we did it this way. is you're asking about commercial music or your theater or you're running an auditorium. It all falls under that. So all this we're not going to worry too much about. But the certificate is called the AV Technologist Certificate. It is a 100-question exam. That's industry standard. It is online, so you don't have to pay for it. It is 100% free for your students to take. It is the very first certificate in their career in AV. So one of the other things too is if you're really interested in this, we'll connect you with Joseph. They have been very generous. They give full memberships for all students that are involved in our programs. So all of my students are a member of AVIXA. That's normally they have to pay for that. That by doing that, they get access to all the training materials online, including this certificate. So it's free basically. It's 100 questions. They have to, I think, score 80% on it. And it's the only certificate that's industry backed by AVIXA that you don't have to have experience on the job. The next level is called CTS, and you can go Google that. I'm not even going to talk about that in here because the lowest level one, you need about a year on the job. The highest level, you need 6 to 10 years on the job, including design. So they have very specific levels within the industry. And the reason it's so strict is if you're a government contractor with the United States military and other parts of the government, you can't even bid on the job unless you have CTS people on your staff. You have to prove it. And so it's part of the industry making sure everyone has their credentials. And so that is our CTS on that. Oh, she's pulling it up. There we go. So this is the certificate. It's recognized. And when we talk to our industry members, they're like, oh, if I got a kid who's done this and gone through your program, or not even gone through your program, they've got this, then they're a step ahead, because most companies that are in this industry that are AVIXA members are going to make new hires go do this. So it's that first step forward. They at least know what they're doing. Like they know what ohms are. They know what an XLR cable is. You know, they know that they know what network, Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable is and how to terminate it. Those are the things that are in this test. What's great is if you get in there and the students, they have all their training material in here as well. So this is all very industry oriented. You work in the industry. We're going to train you to pass these exams, and they wear them. You go to the show, everyone's got their CTS stuff on their badges. Like, you know what level they're at and what they do in the industry by it. So this is the certification, to answer your question in the back, that we wrap around. Like I said, I'll pull up the Synod. They have their own certification that comes with the paid training that they do. But that was the first one we did with the kids because we made them sit through all that. It's S. I gotta. Yeah, actually look it up for me. Sorry, that was bad of me. I should have had it in there, but we'll get it to you. Don't worry. So pull up. Can you pull back up the outline for me, Carmen? And tell me if I'm going too long too.
No, you're.
Oh, I have till 12:15. Oh, I can keep going. No, I won't keep going. I know there's a lot more questions, so, and there's a lot of us in here that can answer them. But if you can pull back up the curriculum. Thank you. So hopefully you're looking at it. We'll put the code back up there in a minute. Scroll down to the book we have is just one that they put out there, so don't worry about the book. We end up using everything online, but this is the outlines that I helped create. So they're a little bit more detailed than your typical CTE outline, and the reason is I wrote them for the UC to start with, and I worked my way backwards. But we have it all broken down into multiple units. All of the standards are aligned, so you don't have to sit there and click on all the standards. I know I see nodding heads in here. Don't worry, I did all the boring work for you. But we have the projects in here as well. This is coming for those of you who've done the UC A through G. You have to show projects. They don't have to be in detail, but they have to align. And so we have everything in here, the topics covered. But the key here is it is aligned specifically with the AVIXA curriculum that they already teach in the industry. There is no difference in our essentials class. They call it audiovisual essentials. We call it audiovisual essentials. I'm not going to change those things. Now, there's always updates every year, but for the most part, you can see in here, for those of you know, like we cover sound waves and octaves and decibels and inverse square law. So if there's some math in there somewhere, we have to do. In the second course, we have 2 sections of AV math. because they really get into AV math in this industry. How do you figure out the projection throw? How do you do a room? How do you figure those things out? So we have AV math in here, and it is their standards. It is their AVIXA stuff. Like, I didn't even try to change it. I go, look, I don't even know what half of this is. I'm going to trust you guys that this is right. But yeah, just scroll through. Sorry, I'm not going to sit here and read all this off to you guys. But we have visual systems. We kind of cover audio, visual, screens, displays, lighting. It's just a good overview of everything here. And for those of you who asked about picking and choosing, that's why we did it this way. Is you may just take a unit from what we did and include it in your theater program or your AV program or your television film or your IT. We try to make this as modular, because once you're in and you're connected with them, everything's very modular within AVIXA for their training materials as well. So I won't bore you with scrolling through all this, but there's a lot here. Like I said, we've tried to make this as thorough as possible, but pull up the capstone. So this is the one that just got approved. We are going to run this class in the fall. So the kids from our essentials class, we're hoping to get all of them to move over, but we all know the reality of the situation. If I get half of them, that's still like 20, like in the high 20s, which is like what I wanted. Question.
These are counted each as a year-long course?
Yes, these are all one-year courses. The other reason we did that too is a little earlier I was talking about community college level. I used to work with West Hills, and Kelly did as well. A lot of us in here, we had an AV Essentials class there. We actually built out a program there. Like I said, the one in the Bay Area kind of beat us to the punch. It went away, but we're not offering at West Hills right now either. But that curriculum was aligned to the AVIXA curriculum when I wrote it, and Kelly wrote it as well. And when we went to do this, we aligned it to that too. So if we have another college or university out there, it will be much easier to do articulation agreements and or dual and concurrent enrollment, or transfer agreements too. So that's another thing we get into on four-year schools, like say Berkeley or Ringling or any other, is they may not take our class directly, but because we have alignment, we can look at transfer guides and transfer agreements. Not really, they're a little different in that world, but it is possible. We've left that door open because that's what AVIXA asked me to do as well. Because we have tons of four-year schools like USC that have theater and these other programs. How do we tie these in? And actually USC has been a great partner of ours too. So they've been, we did a big event at the Coliseum where it's theirs. So we brought 150 kids, right before COVID, about 6 months before COVID. So we've done some big field trips and things like that too. But this is the capstone. It reads, it builds on the foundation. So that's our part 2 class here. Sometimes we call it part 1, part 2, just to make things a little easier, especially in the industry. Industry doesn't care what we call these classes. We just say it's a part 1, part 2. Or yeah, the kids take the beginning, they take the advanced. But internally, we use essentials and capstone. We stayed away from introduction because they don't use that word at AVIXA. So, but just scroll through this real quick. Once again, I don't want to, and build a portfolio. So we have portfolio in here as well. All the portfolio, actually scroll to the very bottom on this for me, Carmen. Let's pull up the portfolio one.
Well, he's doing that. Synod is SYN, AUD, and then synod.com, CON, and the website is prosoundtraining.com.
Here, I'm going to pull it over just real quick. Thank you. I knew you'd find it. Oh, I got it. I already pulled it up. Okay. This is it right here. So SYN, AUD, CON. This is the training material we use. So it was all video based. It walked through, it aligned with AVIXA. So this actually counts towards, I brought up CTS earlier. That's the higher level certifications. In the industry, this counts towards like, what do they call them? Expanded units, or like when teachers get, continuing CU units for the industry. So, but this is them, it's not super cheap, but it's good. And we get an industry certification built into it as well. And like I said, they had never done high school. This was the first time this company ever even talked to a high school. And so we worked with them and they went through and tweaked. They looked at our curriculum and said, we need to move things around, or this is missing. And we ended up buying both of their packages. They have what they call a 50 and a 100. We did the 50 this year. We're going to do the 100 next year. And 100 is a full audio one. It's really getting into the audio side of the world. So you can see, but this is what we ended up using. It was recommended once again by AVIXA. They were like, yeah, go with them. And we said, okay, make life easy. Question.
You mentioned a lot about high school and college. Have you done anything with middle school?
No, but we are starting to reach out to our middle schools at Downey. And so a lot of our middle schools have wheel programs where they do a lot of different things. So it's not like, oh, they're all in television production or they're all in graphic design or they're all in IT. And we're trying to get them a lot more connected on that end of the world. We just haven't done it yet, but we've written to it in our grants at Downey, and we've started. And like I said, last week we had 400 and 400 middle schoolers come, and all the programs had we were all out, all the construction, everything. For us, it was them going to our classroom, and a full concert was going on in the classroom. And so the first group didn't see it. So they walked right by our table. I had all the kids at the table. I wasn't standing there because these kids don't want to talk to me. But my kids that were there, my freshmen that were manning the table, who had been through the fall, they were telling them what they do and what they plan to do. These kids didn't really care. They were just there for their bingo card, to be honest. But the second group after lunch, who had already gone through and seen it all, that was where we ran out of everything, because they got it once they saw it. In your case, it'd be like taking them to the auditorium and having everything going on. So it's getting them excited as early on, like you said, getting middle schools. We're getting there. But I don't know any middle schools at all. AVIXA really doesn't mean it isn't out there, but nothing's really come up yet. But yes.
And the reality is that, this is their first high school in the country. So until they get embedded in more high schools, I don't know if they have the capacity to really look at extending a bunch of energy.
There's the link again if you need.
They want to do what we've done with the Downey Unified District and expand it into more high schools across the country, or they'd be happy with state of California. But yeah, I think that until they can really make sure that it's operational, really solid at the high school level, that they have the capacity to really think about how to then even strip it down more for the younger ages. And then the one statistic that I do remember from a random meeting we had last week was Joseph said in the LA region, there are 22,000 jobs, entry-level jobs available right now. 22,000. And we have one program.
Yeah. And if nothing else, I'm sorry, go ahead. Question?
Have you addressed equity and accessibility issues for a program like this? I teach at the most diverse high school in California, and
Well,
freshmen,
Downey, what is our breakdown at Downey? Yeah. So we're there, and it's been, and that's where AVIXA is stepping in. They're like, we don't have people of color in this industry. It is a very, very small group if we do, and especially women too. Like the numbers are really skewed. So that was another thing with Downey. When we looked at it, we said, look, we're in the high 90th percentile of Hispanic and people of color. And we haven't, I'll be honest, all of our industry people, we're not hearing anything. They're just like, look, we need people who want to do this and are capable of doing it. They don't care who. There really is. I mean, there's always that somewhere in the world, but our industry has been very proactive. And the problem is they're not getting those people. It's just people are staying because there's no one to replace them. But no, yeah, we haven't had that. And actually too, we even address disabilities in terms of the classroom. Honestly, we haven't run into any issues with that. And we started in a district that is, like I said, 96, 97%, and Title I and all the other things. So, but there's the curriculum again. Download it, use it. If you got questions, I'm more than happy. It's out there. Question back.
So we've got a program called Sports Event Broadcasting where we have a studio in our classroom, and then we have remote out to our gym, our football stadium, and our basketball, our auditorium. We're using all the IT stuff and everything. One of the things we're running into is there's more departments than we can handle. Number two, we've got audio, we've got video, we've got graphic design, and now the other part is pulling in talent. Really, what we're trying to do now is pull in, if you can, I guess. I don't know if you guys realize this. We've got people coming in from theater, we've got people from drama, sports people want to come in and do call meetings for us. We're trying to find, like, this AVIXA sounds fantastic. And going up with it would be great. These internships, these kids realize not only have to get out there, hey, well, they're learning how to
Yep. So,
Kind of a cool thing. So how do you break it down? You break it down by department, you break it down by the class?
so actually, we're in the same situation at Warren right now. So our film and television program does do live broadcasts, but they are a film and television program first. And so they have another instructor who came on to do their live broadcasts with all the sports, because that's always the number one thing. If you guys want to get in with everyone, do sports first, because then your AD's happy and all your coaches are happy, and everyone's to be like, yes, this is the greatest thing ever. So I always say, you know, go with your the sports first, theater second. You know, those are the things people see. It makes the program visible. What we're doing, and I'm going to pull over here real quick. One of the Yep. So data video, we just bought this equipment. So once again, I really do come from AME. That was my specialty. It's what I taught for 17 years. It's where I worked in the industry. I worked for Fox Sports West, Live Sports, those types of things. I was Chiron operator. So everyone in here is like, what's that? I go, don't worry. A couple of people know. So I was Chiron operator. But data video, for those of you on the, once again, on the TV film side, we use a lot of their equipment. They're a lot like Blackmagic. They're kind of right in that sweet spot of not expensive, but still good equipment. And one of the things we just purchased for the AV program is their education package. Once again, I'm not just selling them. This could be anything. I don't care. Sony, JVC, whatever. We just bought this one because of the price point. Where's my products? And my whole thing with it is, because I got asked, like, why are we buying this? Where's my, there we go. Mobile cast is what we're doing. So we bought the 4 channel. Where is it? I don't go with the 8. There she is. So this is a complete studio for $5,500. You can broadcast anywhere. All you gotta do is show up with this suitcase. It fits in an overhead in an airplane too. Plug in any cameras you have. It could be even, I had one school that was still using RCA jacks off their cameras. It worked. You can plug a phone in through anything. This thing just takes anything you throw at it, including professional stuff. I don't know why it's not coming up. Come on, where'd it go? There it is. So this goes back to exactly what you're asking is we are gonna, as the AV program, we're not shooting the game. That's not my kid's job in there. My kid's job is to set this up, get it ready for that other talent you're talking about to come in. Get the microphone set up so then we have our play-by-play and you have your color people. Get the cameras, run the cables, make sure everything's working. But more importantly too is this kit, or the kit we bought, comes with 3 PTZ cameras. This actually controls the cameras too. So we're teaching them to run those cameras because in all reality, if they go and work at a government facility or let's say a city council meeting, they're gonna be sitting in front of something very similar to this by themselves. And they're gonna be shooting whatever it is and moving the cameras and doing those things. So big part of what our program, the focus is to train them to set up, tear down, get really good at that. So they can come out to a game and be done in 20 minutes instead of 3.5 hours and us yelling at them. But that's taking this and that program. Our AV program is now supporting the broadcast television video. The theater department's right next door. They're doing that. All of the events, sports especially, like they're already going out with another instructor from the TV side. But now that we've got this equipment through the AV side, it's the AV program's responsibility to make sure this works for all that other talent at the school to then produce what needs to be distributed on the campus. That could be a live broadcast every day, just making sure everything's ready to go. They're the tech there. They're the engineer in the room. They're not the creator. Now, once again, they're going to end up having to create. So we're throwing a lot of that into the class too. It's just, I'm like, yeah, you're going to get stuck doing everything sometimes. But as long as you know what you're doing and it's decent, then you're going to be fine. And you'll get better at it down the road. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much all in one, and it also streams to YouTube and everywhere else. So it's literally you plug in an Ethernet cable and you have an account and you're done. And it does graphics as well. It plugs into a laptop. I mean, you can have 20, well, you got 4 sources in, and I think there's a few other, I don't want to get into the details, but they got a lot of stuff. Exactly. But I'm glad you brought it up because this is what we just purchased. And the reasoning behind the purchase was, yes, this is a TV broadcast thing. You know, you have your production stuff, but we need to teach them how to install this stuff. And it's nice and portable. All they need is an easy up and a table and some chairs. I mean, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. But then if they have a stadium and things are already wired, then they're just coming in and dun, 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 get things going. All your XLRs come in from all of your, you know, hopefully everything's wired in the place. Power. Well, how do you get power to somewhere? We got to have cables, you know, SDI cable. We have a 600 footer coming for baseball because the teacher asked me, I'm going to do baseball. And I'm like, that's my world. I go, so you have your over the shoulder shot, which is the money shot. He's like, what's that? I go, oh boy, you're in trouble. And I said, he goes, well, how do I get a camera to center field? I go, do you have a fence? No. I go, then you don't have a camera in center field. I go, so those are the things, working with another department going, okay, we have to assess this out. Kelly. Make them happy because then they'll go yell about getting booster monies. Right? And here's the other thing. If you don't have the money in the CT department, you walk in and you tell your AD or your football coach or your soccer coach, I can stream this tomorrow if we have these types of things. And my kids will get it set up. We want your kids to be the broadcast booth, and we want our TV and film people. We need writers. We need someone to run teleprompter. What about my English department? Oh, we have biology. Well, it's hard to show that you dissect frogs. We could bring this in, put the PTZ camera up and show it on the screen. So there's so many, kind of going back to what you said, there's so many different ways to be the hub.
I've got 2 teachers that love doing basketball in their track up, but they're like, no, how many people make note of it. It's fun because it brings them all together. It's really, you can really do that. It's fun.
You become the hub. You're the hub of the wheel. And you're the one with the equipment. You're the one with the expertise to make it happen. Because that's what those kids are going to need when they leave too. They need the expertise. They might end up at a company that does all this, but they're just, you know, they make widgets somewhere. And it has nothing to do with the entertainment industry, but they're doing corporate and they're doing all the installs through the building. So you can see where it's just understanding kind of the big picture and then bringing it back down and going, okay, what do we have on this campus? How can we support? Theater alone, theater and dance. Those are the two. If you can get in with theater and dance too, they're going to love you to death. Even if it's just a camera and you're just shooting it and that's it, you know, like as a start. So, question.
I just want, we didn't really talk about it, but when we were first building this program, we actually, the important part is to get the students excited about it, because it's really easy to get the teachers excited about it, and they adults excited about it, but most of the students are buying into it. So take them on a field trip. We did USC, the Coliseum, and they went behind the scenes. We had, gosh, we had like.
I got the video. Hold on.
There's a video of it, but we literally brought.
If I can type today.
Behind the scenes tour of the Coliseum, and that was really where I think.
It's cemented.
They really rooted themselves in. They were going to do this. So, you know, yeah, other schools wanted to, but they were because of their limitations and whatnot. But any.
Part of our mission is to then connect them.
Sorry.
No, and the interesting part though is like any city you go to, find the place that, you know, whether you're in Fresno, go to Fresno State, ask them to tour their facilities. And have literally, we walked through. We actually went to Vegas to the Allegiant Stadium, or no, not Allegiant, T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, yeah.
And they took us on a behind-the-scenes tour of like all of the wiring and just all of the stuff that makes it right when it was brand new.
Yeah.
And you have to get the students excited. So find a facility. Even walking in, well, you can't take kids in the airport like you used to. When you walk down the airport, you see all this stuff hanging on the walls. You know, there's stuff that they can see. So find something in your town, wherever you're coming from, that has the most use of AV. Because again, we pass it every day and don't think twice about it. But that's where students get excited, is because this is really unlimited. If you like to open your eyes, there's something in this industry for you. And it's really sad because again, very few females, very, very few females. And when you meet the people, when I say that these guys are in their 70s now, and it's, you know, it's not going to be that they gray out, they're going to die out if we don't do something about it. So, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. And actually, Andrew brought up something, because I'm a designer at heart. That's where I came from, was graphic design, fine arts, and then I ended up in the technical side. But if we do our job right in this industry, no one ever notices what we did. Like Angela said, we don't even notice that the screens are there in the airport because they work and they're integrated. And Vegas is the same thing. Like, yes, it's over the top, but you don't realize what's happening around you, the experience that's happening. And so that's the tougher side too, where going back to working with other departments is we were talking with I'm there helping in the class too. So last week we were doing a thing on design and they all grumbled like, why do we go watch these videos and talk about design? It's the basics of design, shape, line, form. I go, if you understand this, you're just going to be better down the road. And that's why we're doing this. And they're like, well, I want to go do this and say, I go, you will, but we got it. Then when you're doing it, you go, oh, this makes sense. Instead of I tell them, I go, in your gut, something's not right or it's right, but you can't explain why. You can't tell me why it is. That's my job, is to make sure you understand the why. And so anyway, this real quickly, what we did, and this was AVIXA, they got the Coliseum for this. This is right the week before the Rams moved back in. So it was brand new. And USC, if you don't know, USC signed what, 100-year lease on the Coliseum. They control the Coliseum now, top to bottom. So this was USC and AVIXA putting this together. We brought Downey, we brought our administrators. Yes, this is a big event. We had Sony, we had all the installers there. They did the tours. So this was a very large event we put together, but this was kind of, I don't want to say a Hail Mary, but it was our final pitch to everyone. So Downey wasn't the only one. Huntington was there. We brought everyone who was interested, bring the kids. And so this was, like Angela said, really what sealed the deal with Downey to say, we're going to do this. So it was October of 19 is when we did this, give or take. Yeah.
We represent a large trade organization called AVIXA, which represents all of the audiovisual companies that produce great experiences and help contribute to those experiences worldwide. And what we're doing here at the Coliseum today is we are helping students make a connection from their school experiences, from their personal lives and their passions they have, to learn about different careers in the audiovisual industry.
So if you're ever interested in any of these types of careers, getting into audio, programming, networking, video.
So a couple of my favorite features on the room is going to be the touch panel that you see in the nook right here.
And identify at what height the key is being installed. So these are the real examples of the software.
The AV industry, it's really getting to know all the equipment, whether it's lighting, sound, video, production, all those different angles.
A lot of students simply don't know that this industry exists, although they see it every day in the experiences they have.
Like there's someone behind all the commercial, there's someone behind, but not just one person, there's multiple people.
Knowing, number one, that there are incredible people behind those experiences is what we want them to see today. But also part of our mission is to then connect them to the companies in this industry who can get them those great jobs.
It allows us to educate these students, to connect with students who have a lot of potential, have a lot of talent, but they don't know where to focus it.
There's definitely a learning curve to it, but also this connection for not super helpful.
This is a very hands-on field, so we could give them the papers all day long and it's very boring and you can see them gloss over, but when they see a PA come on for the first time, or they attach a moving light to a piece of truss and get that to operate for the first time, that's really what inspires them. And I think it's the, I call it the dream juice going. Like, oh my God, I know how to do this. This is great.
I'm here with 44 students from our school district, 3 different high schools. We have plans on building out a pathway series of courses that end in an AVIXA certification.
The certification is key because that's a much more tailored approach to working in the field that I come from. So I think certification is huge for that world.
I would be interested in getting an AVIXA certification because they're marketable skills. They're in high demand.
We have the opportunity to have our students enroll in this program and get them certified in AV equipment and setup. So this is just a dream come true for our program and for a lot of our students.
This industry has a lot of opportunity. And fortunately for these students, this industry also pays very well.
Blockbuster movies and games are being made by people that are interested in this stuff like us. So that's cool how we have a chance to be one of those people.
That was interesting to me that there's so many different jobs that you can get to become part of something bigger. I thought that was cool.
There's something for everyone in AV, and that's the main mission we have right now, is to show all the people on the planet that AV is the place to be.
So anyway, that kind of sums it all up. Oh, it's good he was in there. So now you know who Joseph is, and John too. So that worked out perfect. let me pull up, whoops.
Accept more forms.
Anyway, so Angela's passing out cards. We're on the front and the back. If you've got questions, we're going to pull up here. Actually, can you pull up that last slide that has our info on it? It's all right. Just keep going. So we have it up. There we go. So we'll leave that up for a minute. That has, once again, it links back to all the curriculum. So you can bookmark it. If not, email me. I'm always more than happy to send it out to you. If you are looking at the UC A through G, I have that as well. I didn't put it up there, but it's identical. Like you could take this and copy and paste it and put it in the UC A through G portal. If you're an administrator in here and you're very interested, talk to us. But also I invite you, we can connect you with John Harris at the district as well, or Marilyn, or we have a lot of people in here too, Kelly or June, to really ask those questions. And Angela was a dean, so she's an admin as well. She was a dean of community college, just like I taught there. So we're more than happy to put you in the right direction. If you're a teacher, I'm probably the person you're going to talk to. Joseph as well will make those introductions for you. There is Joseph's email, John's email, me and Angela's as well is up here. So if you want to take a picture, we are open to talking to you, figuring this out for you as well. AVIXA, and once again, I'm not even going out on a limb on this. AVIXA is 100% in an education. They will do whatever they can to make this happen. It's been a long road. It really has. I mean, I look back now and I'm like, wait.
So I do want to point out one thing. So I would highly recommend, if you're really serious about it, you can't do it this year, but next year Infocom is back in Vegas. Infocom is actually in Orlando this year. It's always in June, but because of one of the new AD laws, we can't use funds to travel to certain states. Oh, so February 16th, no longer.
They changed it? Okay, thank
okay,
you.
Well, good to know. Okay. So,
Well, then.
Okay, so the Infocom is in
Orlando.
I want to say it's the 12th to the 17th, 16th, or I think it's the 16th.
Yeah, you can look it up.
We are presenting in
We-
June 15th.
Yeah, June 15th, we're going to be announcing this to the entire country, like basically kind of the same thing. We're going to be up there with 3 other schools, which are all 4-year schools. We'll be the only high school up there. And we're going to be talking with, they'll have the president of AVIXA there and everything. It's the, we need help from the industry day. You know, like I'm going to be up there. I'm not going to go through this other than maybe show the video and go, I need you guys to step up. Like this is the time now. So that's what we're doing on that end of the world, where we can help support you as well. We can point you in the right direction. Like I said, Marilyn Caneen's up here. She was with Huntington Beach. They're an AVIXA member. They didn't move ahead, but they integrated a lot into their other programs. So
And Judy and Kelly are instrumental.
right over there, they're
Downey program launching.
yeah. So they're the grant people. They know what they're doing. I'm implementation, as you can tell. I'm in the classroom. I taught forever. I make the things work in, you know, all the curveballs.
And I keep them out of jail.
And yeah, she tells me to shut up when I need to shut up, which hasn't happened today yet, which is pretty good for me. So, sorry, question.
What have you done in terms of developing relationships for internships and job shadowing?
So we've been working with QSC. So for those of you in the audio industry, QSC is one of the major speaker manufacturers, and they also do full integration now. We met with them at AVIXA or at Infocom last year. We're working with their HR department. They have internships. They just need people. And so we're trying to get our kids ready. So that's part of our program too, is the portfolio side. And like we're doing headshots on Friday. One of my photographers coming in, we're gonna do headshots with every kid. We're working on their LinkedIn profiles if they're over 16. We're having them write their bios. A lot of them, luckily in Downey, and June can talk to everyone about this if you have questions, Downey has an summer internship program. It's called Downey Made. And so it's for juniors. I think I've got all 8 of my juniors to sign up, but I gotta talk to you about that because some of them had trouble, but here or there. But we have an integrated program there as well in the school district where it's 160 kids there in a full program, fully paid internship through this district. And they have, what are you guys doing? Audio this year, video, and event planning. That's where I think most of my kids are going to go, is into the event planning thing. But like I said, QSC's there. I've got Spinatar, which is one of the largest installers. They've been, and I'm going to shout out to them, even though they're not here. They've been here since day one with their CEO and everything. They're ready. We are at the point where we're preparing the students now this semester. And I'm going to have to just connect them. I mean, that's really what's going to happen this year. Is that's my job right now. Is, and I told the kids that. I go, for those of you who are seniors and juniors, I've got junior opportunities. I'm going to have to make those connections with them, and that's where I need my industry. Like I can only do so much. If you have workforce development boards in your area, we have another district we work with. They already have a full internship program built around with them, so we can bring an industry partner in, the student, and let the workforce development board handle the rest of it. So using what you have in the system is what we're also doing as well. That's kind of a whole other presentation, though, I think, in itself. So.
And I'll just put it out there right now. So we do not work for Downey Unified. We are independent contractors, and we work with some of our different districts in Southern California, but we are open to opportunities to help you guys through this process as an independent contractor statewide. So whether you're in the Bay Area, in Central Valley, and Northern California, again, we're used to traveling the state, so that's not a problem.
And we've probably worked with your district. When we were at the chancellor's office, we worked with everybody at some point. So
if you guys have any questions, we are happy to follow up and have conversations.
And then we got June Bea and Kelly Cooper. So if you're looking for the other side of the house, which is all of the grant writing and all that, there are people over there. So I'm good at writing this stuff and implementing
Very worthwhile.
and going to conventions and doing that. They're better at that or stuff than we are. So, but yeah, we're here to help. If you need connections with Infocom, I hate to say this, Joseph will probably send you back to me right now because that's what he's been doing with everyone, but we're here to help. All of this information's out there. None of this is secretive. None of it's, it was all on public dollars for writing this stuff. So, and John Harris and I have talked about it. This is what Downey envisioned was. This isn't just theirs. It's no good if we just do it there. It's for everyone. And AVIXA feels the same way. These companies feel the same way. I feel that you can tell. That's my whole thing is I want to see this grow.
We're not coveting the information intentionally, because again, if we're going to ever help the industry, there's no way Downey can prepare 22,000 kids. So we need more districts to step up.
I only got 48.
And before they go 6 feet under, before the end of no, I'm kidding. But no, but seriously, like there's opportunities no matter what part of the state you live in. So don't think because if you're up in the far corner
Siskiyou?
of California, there's still jobs available in your area. You just don't know that they're there probably.
And to answer your question too, the apprenticeship stuff, Allison Frenzel, AME, talk to her. That is the next step with us, as well as television production and game design. So Stephen Wynn right here, he's over at Sonora High School in Fullerton, the Fullerton district. He's one of the first ones to sign on with that. I believe the high school at USC too was the other one. There's an LA Unified one too. So they were the first two. They're still in their infancy. They're crawling, but we're getting there, and big time industry backing. Sony, Nickelodeon, everyone across the board. So talk to her about it. That's a whole other program. We will probably be signing on to that. I was asked continuously to be one of the first ones with this program, but I literally told him, I said, look, this ship's still in dry dock. I'm like, I cannot take on more. We got to get it launched before I take on passengers. But that program is in place for AME and for what we're doing here too. So I know that's the next big question. How do we get these kids jobs? How do we get them the internships? And we're getting there. We're crawling. So yeah, any other, I know we got a few more minutes. I'm more than happy to.
10 more minutes or so, if you guys want to.
Oh, question. Oh yeah, can we put the barcode back up, Carmen? I should have put the barcode right there.
Like that street, I can't get back to it. I don't know where it's from my phone.
Worst case,
Isn't Carmen isn't it going to be put into the?
well, yeah, we got to put it up there. Yeah, the Google Drive. And if you got our card, email me and I'll just email them to you too. So that's the other thing is, once again, if you have any questions, we're on both sides of the card. If you got questions about anyone else we talked about in here, like John, you didn't get the email, or Kelly or June or Marilyn or even Steven, just because I'm going to throw you in with me. I'm more than happy to connect you. Like I said, if you need to talk to admin, John's awesome with that. He'll explain and his thought process and why he did what he did. And then deployment is us, money is kind of them. So we're lucky we have a good team and we all have our places and we all know what each other does too. So that always helps. So anyway, that is, I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Carmen, too. So Carmen's been in the background running this for us. We did record this too, so I'll probably just throw that into the the Google Drive once we get it. That way, if you want to listen to me again for an hour and a half, I'd be more than happy. I know. Go on Adobe. Go on the Adobe Education Exchange. I have a 14-hour series you got to sit through me talking for Adobe Illustrator. That's my world. That's where I came from. So if you really want to sit through that, I've got it up there. But this is me. This is how I don't change what I do. So I'm loud. I know that, and my voice carries. But and also for those of you, if a lot of you fall into the AME world, the NAB show, which is coming up in April, National Association of Broadcasters, Infocom is just like that show, just with AV. It's the same. Sony's there. Everyone's there. We cross over. But if not, I really, really suggest if you've never been and you're in sound, audio, television, film, all that, you're interested in this, everyone's there. And that's coming up in Las Vegas in April, while the other is in Florida. Then Infocom comes back next year to Las Vegas. They're both in Vegas this time. I see you over there, but question.
Do you ever show up at USITT or at LDI?
I work with USITT. That's the one that does the technical training. They actually have a really good certification program with the safety stuff.
Right.
I was going to go. I think it's in St. Louis this year. I may or may not go, but AVIXA works with them. So I actually had a conversation with their president about doing those. But yeah, that was the one I couldn't remember that does theater tech. And they have their facility in, is it Wisconsin?
Something like that.
They have an entire safety one. So what was the acronym again? It's
USITT.
Yeah, USITT. So for the theater. Yeah, it's the theater tech. They have their own safety certifications with IATSE. And so they're kind of the other side of this house that we don't get into. And the other one is starts with a C, and it's usually in San Diego. That's the home installation, like security home. And that's why I said, I always call it the Best Buy group, because people are buying a TV and they want to install. That's that end of the world. So home and audio and stuff. But NAB, look it up. It's one of those shows. It's free. It's really just going to Vegas, and you should be able to go. It's far enough out too to get board approvals and stuff right now. So, sorry, you're next.
When were you at Fox Sports?
1997 through 99. I worked at the 1100 building. Best damn sports show ever. Dodgers and Lakers. I was Chiron operator.
I worked at Fox Sports West from 97 to 2009.
Okay. So, do you remember when? Sorry, let's talk. But you remember when they put the best damn sports show ever? We were doing it in the structure. That was the time I was there. So.
Someone else had an end.
It was prime ticket actually when I was there.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Arts, Media, and Entertainment is AME. So, sorry, acronym soup here. But that's the Arts, Media, and Entertainment stuff. So, sector. And then underneath that is our pathways. We have all the pathways and stuff. So, yeah.
Question, Sean?
Yeah.
Where is Allison this convention? I don't see her.
I'm going to text her right now. She's just wandering. So he's asked about Allison Frenzel, who's the head of AME for the California Department of Ed. So a lot of you may know her. She took over for Jerry. Yeah, Jack Mitchell. Sorry. I don't think she is. She's bouncing around on everything, but I think she's getting pulled in 2 trillion different directions. And then Colby is her boss now. So Colby Franklin. He's kind of hard to miss. Bigger than me, bald guy, beard. So he's floating around too. He's a good one to talk to if you run into him. I know he does sessions usually. So, and the other 2 people is Brian Baker and David Kintz. So if you don't know who they are, if you're a teacher, you may not, but if you're doing what we do, there are other 2 at the state. They do Perkins and CTIG. They do the FPMs and they do all of that funness along with Allison Frenzel and stuff. So where the approvals come from, those are our approval people at the CDE. So sorry, we've been doing this a long time. But anyway, yeah, we can wrap up early. I'll stick around, answer any questions. I think lunch is next, correct? So, and yeah, no, sorry, a lot of talking, but hopefully, yes, no, thank you for coming too. I was expecting like 3 people, and I know all 3 of them.
I'm a little mad though because I lost the bet. I said 4.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Hey, Carmen, you could turn off the video.
It's a way to.
Thank you.